So this morning when I woke up, I knew immediately that something was off. And within a few minutes, I was able to figure out that what it boiled down to was a self worth or self esteem issue. I think we can use those terms synonymously. And so I spent a little bit of time in the morning as my day was getting started, looking at that inside myself, observing that, and trying to love on that, trying to be gentle and kind with myself. And then was doing okay, feeling all right. And then later in the day, it kind of crept in again, this lack of self worth, and it took over. And when that takes over, of course, we feel really uncomfortable. But usually it's running the show, and there is this undercurrent of discomfort that we're just not really seeing, and it becomes the norm. But this morning, for whatever reason, it was front and center. So this aspect of our experience comes from the undefined ego in the human design chart. It can also be the defined ego in the chart, but it comes from that heart center, that will center, the ego, whatever you call it. Unfortunately, it has 3 names. And this is, unfortunately, something that is arguably the most conditioned aspect of us globally. And if we didn't have good models of self-esteem and self-worth, then we learned to place our worth in external things. And to know that we are worthy based on how external things are happening, and to prove our worth with the external things that we are able to create. So when this popped up for me this morning, and then again this afternoon, it was just like, okay, new layer of this. I've done a lot of work on this aspect of myself and deconditioning, and I don't believe it'll ever be done. I think that's just an important note to leave here at the end. Perhaps just something to think about, that I don't believe that I will ever arrive, or that we will ever arrive at this perfect state of self-esteem and self-worth. I think this wounded part of me that doesn't believe I'm worthy, doesn't believe I'm wanted, that believes I'm inherently unlovable, will always exist. It's just that it may be quieter, and it may not be running the show. So I think we have to release this expectation of arriving in some perfect place of self-worth and self-esteem. But we must also realize that true self-esteem and self-worth are internal. They come from an internal place. This is where they last. But having the undefined ego, especially the undefined ego, this will mean that your sense of self-esteem and sense of self-worth can be inconsistent. And that's, again, because we learn to look outside of us for indicators of how worthy we are. But if we learn to find our inner wealth, our inner worth, it's that inner abundance, that solid ground that is unchanging. When you find your core there, then, and I believe only then, Do we have this aspect of us enlightened? And will our self esteem be more consistent? And maybe we never get there. And that would be okay, right? Um, like I said, I've been working on this part of myself for a while, and today, had this really hurt part of me creep up. And so there's more work to do, more loving to do. And I'm happy for that, you know? So just a few things to think about. This aspect of all of us can be very challenging, and there are countless directions we could go when talking about the undefined ego. And many, just many aspects of our lives in which this shows up. But hopefully this will get you thinking about your self-worth if you need it. And again, this goes for the defined or the undefined ego. It's just the conditioning is experienced differently. So okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.